Okay, let's talk about it. Erosion of the Addams family throughout adaptations, the continued isolation of Wednesday, and how it is completely changing the core values of the Addams family as a whole. Of course, we need to start at the beginning of the adaptations, which is the 1960s sitcom. This show was revolutionary at the time because while we had other TV shows that primarily focused on parents hating their children as well as their marriage, this was the first functioning and happy family to be shown on television, and they were weird. They enjoyed the dark and macabre. They talked openly about things like suicide and murder. However, they were complete and utterly functional and loving towards each other. The parents loved their in-laws, loved their uncle, loved their butler and treated him with respect, loved their children, and loved each other. There is a whole episode where Gomez is jealous of a man of Morticia's past, and instead of trying to win her back with a super manly conquest, his first reaction is to kill himself so she can be with the love of her life. This was airing at a time where people were openly talking about wanting to beat their wives on daytime television. Furthermore, Wednesday and Pugsley loved both their mother and father. Next, we have the 1991 adaptation for film. This is a very good adaptation. The family is a bit more zany with their darker and macabre stuff, probably because they can get away with it more because it's the 90s. However, they are still a loving family. They are still a family that trusts and adores one another. Now, of course, they amped up Gomez more to have him be more impassioned, and of course they subdued Morticia to create a dichotomy. They both adore each other, but they are opposites in how they express their emotions. Furthermore, they show this more with the children. Wednesday takes after her mother and is more subdued emotionally, where Pugsley takes after his father. The family is still completely loving, though, and cherishes one another. Do not get me wrong, the 1993 film is still my love, but it's where the cracks began to show. The biggest one being isolating Wednesday, because that was the character a lot of people were clinging on to. Now, I'm not saying within this piece of media that was a bad choice. In fact, it gave us some iconic moments and let Christina Ricci show that she got some chops. But this movie also caused a lot of problems with adaptations going further, because this is where the Addams family hates normal people began. Now, even though Wednesday is isolated, she still loves her family and they still love her. There is no conflict involved. Despite Morticia and Gomez not comprehending why their children want to go to a fucking summer camp, they send them anyway because they are made to believe by the antagonist that is what their children wanted. Much like how there was an episode in the 1960s adaptation where Pugsley wanted to join the Boy Scouts and was supported even though they couldn't comprehend it. And after this adaptation, that's where a lot of it falls apart. And a Broadway musical is where the tiny issues with the 93 film became ginormous fucking cracks in the foundation. This movie openly discussed how Morticia and Gomez tried isolating their children, keeping them woeful, keeping them sad. And this is where the macabre nature of the Addams family takes full front, and the love the family shares and the respect they share takes a back seat. Essentially, I went into this musical believing that the main conflict was going to be Morticia and Gomez not ready to have their oldest child leave the nest yet. Instead, what I got is that plot point, but also they were upset that she chose someone who was from a normal family. One of the main conflicts is them asking if they were good parents because Wednesday is happy and is expressing that happiness openly, which this adaptation completely spits in the face of the healthy family dynamic in Notion because once again it's isolating Wednesday and creating the rift between her and Morticia. One of the plots of this film is Wednesday calling her mother old and Morticia becoming really insecure about that. And this whole mommy issues thing is ramped up to 11 in the animated 2019 version, where they have decided that the Addams family, now instead of being a loving family who just happens to enjoy the macabre, are now a macabre family who despises normal people and kind of turn them into Frankenstein's monster. Like, they get run out of their original place and move to Jersey and decide to isolate their children. And then get mad when Wednesday has a healthy curiosity with the outside world. Furthermore, the rest of the family is in the backseat. This is a Wednesday story, which, for it being the Addams family, kinda weird. Essentially, Wednesday and Morticia have a fight because Wednesday decides to dress more colorfully and be more normal. Like, the healthy family dynamic is completely dropped, and now we finally get to the 2022 Wednesday show, where they completely have decided that this is no longer a story about a loving family who happens to enjoy the macabre. It's about a macabre family who's dysfunctional, and your sole focus is on their eldest. I think what disappointed me the most about this adaptation is that Wednesday felt like Wednesday when she wasn't talking about or around her family. Once again, the mommy issues are in full force. Wednesday is isolated and the center point, and the loving, functionally macabre family is put on the back burner. The Addams are a macabre family who are incredibly healthy, but newer adaptations had made that healthy family dynamic the goal instead of where the characters start from, and that's a problem.